Hey guys, welcome to the Field of 68 YouTube channel. If you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button and you'll get more college basketball content just like this.
Yep.
Purdue
Clingan
versus UConn.
Yep.
I want to start with this. Who is the better team? Not the better resume. Not who should be ranked one.
UConn's the better team.
Talk to me why.
I just, again, like I told you, Cam Spencer, Alex Caravan, Tristan Newton, they've all kind of been there, done. They're older, number one. They're bigger. They're stronger. I love Braden Smith, but he's still got to show you something in down the stretch and in the tournament. Now, again, he's not what he was as a freshman. He's so much better. To me, he's probably a top five. I would take Braden Smith over Tristan Newton. Okay, I would take him. I would take Braden Smith over Tristan Newton. The difference to me is I would take Cam Spencer over Fletcher Lawyer.
Yes.
I would take Alex Caravan over Lance Jones. I would take, obviously, the key is going to be, again, like, can Clingan stand up and stay on the floor against Zach Edey? Now, Zach hasn't seen too many guys like Kong. That's the only thing. Like, he's going to turn around and be like, okay, like, it's not going to be so easy now.
The problem is that what Zach Edey does well kind of goes into the weakness that I don't, and weakness is maybe even too strong of it, but like the strength of Zach Edey is his ability to get position, to hold position,
Sure,
to back you down, because he's 7'4" and 300 pounds.
And you're saying he might not be able to do that against
fantastic shape. I'm saying that is what will work well against Clingan, because if you watch Clingan play, he has a very high center of gravity. Like, he's not someone. Part of the reason why he has some struggle scoring in the post is because when he tries to back you down, it's not like he can't move you, because he's tall and he's thin and he has a high center of gravity. So it's hard for him to get low to get that leverage. And leverage is basically the entirety of Zach Edey's game. It's not the entirety. That's putting it too far. But
I just think
what makes Zach great is his ability to seal and get position. And I'm worried in that specific matchup how much resistance that Clingan and Samson Johnson and Yusuf Samgari and whoever it is will be able to provide. And like, the bottom line is this: Zach Edey is going to get like his 25 and 13,
no matter
what it is.
That's
the
right.
biggest thing is going to be, one, would Clingan be able to make it difficult against them? And two, would he be able to get enough at the other end to maybe get him in foul trouble, to maybe tire him out because of the ball screens that they set?
I also think Clingan isn't going to be nearly as effective, obviously, in the offensive end with those lobs.
Yes, because Zach Edey is great when it comes to drop coverage.
And he can move.
But by the way, we saw what happened tonight. Donovan Kling's a three-point shooter now.
Gonna step out and start draining threes. I don't see that happening. But listen,
let me ask you.
It's not that. It's again. I keep going back to it. It's my trust in Spencer and Caravan.
Well,
does that make sense? And Castle,
100%.
And Castle,
well, 100%. So here's my question.
That trio, man.
Here's my question.
They're scary.
So let's put away like the easy. The question I'm going to ask you is an easy narrative answer, right? Who is more likely to get picked off by somebody else before they get to the Final Four? And the easy narrative is like, one team lost in the first round last year, one team won the national title last year.
Correct.
But this season, do you think it's Purdue that you would be more worried about heading in?
Hell
if you could get rid of like the mental, I know you can't do it, but if you get rid of the mental part of it, and let's just talk about what's happening on a basketball court, is it still Purdue?
Yeah, I just like the look of this team better. I physically, I look at them and I'm like, mentally, I look at them and I'm like, all right, there aren't any issues. Listen, those are two of the best coaches in the country.
Mm-hmm.
We know, I think we're on the same wavelength when it comes to Matt Painter, but Dan Hurley's put himself at a level that few are at right now.
What's amazing about it, and
how quickly that narrative has changed for Dan Hurley. 2 years ago, what was he?
He could never win a close game. He choked in the NCAA tournament. All he does is get.
He was like a year away from being on the hot seat.
We talked with Andrea about this on the Top Dogs pod. Like, they thought that they were getting fired in January last year. Like, he was like, "It's done. Like, we're done. We're going to get fired."
Amazing. She really talked about that.
She talked about that. That's what they thought.
Watch the Top Dogs podcast.
That's what they thought.
I haven't watched it yet
because
what's wild. I can't see him any more than I already see him. But if that's true,
no, but I actually want
I
your
wanna
thought.
watch
I actually want your thoughts on this because there was a point where Brett Just, who is Dan Hurley's agent, called Andrew. Andrew is like the go-between. Like no one goes to
well,
Danny.
because
They
you
go to
don't
Andrew.
want to.
But hold on, no.
You don't want to.
Listen. So he called her and was like, "You need to tell." This was at the end of January when things were getting bad. And he was like, "You need to tell him to stop because he is going to do something that is going to ruin what you have built and where you are going in this trajectory." And she was like, it can't be me. You have to do it. So he called him up and basically cussed out Hurley, right? And they had that and then she said that they had that like heart-to-heart moment where they were kind of like, all right, we've got to figure this out. Like, we can't do this anymore. And that's when it changed and that's when it flipped. Would you have expected that? Did you think that that was something that you could see from her? If I would have told you this January 20th of last
But I
year,
tried it in December.
you did.
Remember?
You did.
And we didn't talk from December, January, February, March, because, again, I did call him out publicly for, how he was with the officials. And again, part of that was I thought it gets him in a place where he is not focused on the right things. And I think he admitted that going into the NCAA tournament last year, that he was just all hell bent on, like, consumed by how the officials were out to get him. And he's still, obviously, listen, he can still be a maniac on the court with the officials, with just his passion, his intensity. And I still think at times he needs to tone that down. But, that makes him who he is. Yep. That drives him. Without that, I think he'd be the first to admit he's not the coach that he is.
So the obvious next question is, the narrative around Matt Painter right now is the inability to win in March. We know how good he is as a coach. It's the inability to win in March. It's really not all that different from what we talked about with Tony Bennett in like 2018. It's exactly the same. Right. Like
there's a little more evidence with Matt Painter that dates back a little bit more.
With Virginia,
Texas,
with Virginia,
Little Rock.
Yeah, it wasn't the upsets against. It wasn't like losing to 13 seeds.
Right.
It was choking in the tournament. It was blowing a 15-point lead with 8 minutes left. It was being a number 1 seed and getting smacked by a number 4 seed Michigan, or number 7 seed Michigan State in the 2014 NCAA tournament. Right. It was things like that kind of built this this narrative around Tony Bennett. How does Matt Painter change that? How does Matt Painter get to the point where we are no longer saying, is it just he's got to get, is it a Final Four?
Yeah, I think
a
Final Four is the first step, right? A national title would be the erasure of this, right? Final Four is still, okay, you know what? That validates you. It just does. National title takes it to a next step. So, listen, the first step is getting that first win, because ultimately whatever you do in the regular season, if you're Purdue, it doesn't really, I hate to say it, but it's kind of like Calipari at Kentucky right now. You can win every game from here till the first round of the NCAA tournament. It'll help you for your seeding. It'll help you for your players gaining confidence, all of that. But ultimately, you got to win when it matters. You got to win that first weekend. That's where it starts for Kentucky. That's where it starts for Purdue, that first game. And then for Purdue, it's probably, hey, Sweet 16 isn't good enough for this team. Elite 8 isn't good enough.
Who has the most pressure on them, coach, heading into this
Painter.
into March?
Painter does. Yeah, because recency bias. I mean, obviously, again, you lost in the worst maybe fashion that any coach has ever lost in an NCAA tournament game. So, I would say Painter.
Yeah. Thank you for watching the Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field of 68 content.